What's up, Speedy? Welcome back to another DUI Stop Masterclass. I'm your host, Attorney Doug. And today's episode is going to be an important one because I'm going to tell you about a huge mistake that many people make when they get pulled over for a DUI, and it ends up costing them dearly. In fact, this mistake has resulted in thousands of DUI convictions that probably would have otherwise been dismissed. So if you want to know what mistake that is, stay tuned, and let's go ahead and jump into this episode of DUI Stop Masterclass. As you may recall from previous episodes, I've talked about how during a DUI stop, anything that you say can and will be used against you. In other words, anything you say can end up being used at trial, including your consent to a search. Now, in some cases, it might seem like a good idea to consent to a search. After all, if there's nothing illegal in the car, then you should have no problem with them searching it, right? Well, maybe. But maybe there is something in your car that isn't illegal. But the police officer might be able to use it to establish probable cause to believe that you committed another crime, like DUI. In those cases, by consenting to the search, you've given the police exactly what they were looking for, and now they have probable cause to arrest you for DUI. That's right. You gave them probable cause simply by consenting to the search. So what exactly am I talking about here? Let's take a look at a California case that illustrates this issue perfectly. In People v. McGrew, the defendant was stopped for speeding. During the stop, the officer asked the defendant for consent to search the vehicle. The defendant gave his consent, and the officer found a loaded handgun under the driver's seat. Defendant was arrested and charged with possession of a loaded firearm in a vehicle in violation of California Penal Code, Section 23100A. Defendant argued that the search was illegal because the officer didn't have a search warrant, and therefore, the gun should have been excluded as evidence. The trial court rejected this argument, finding that defendant's consent to search made the search lawful. Defendant was convicted of the charge and sentenced to 16 months in jail. On appeal, the court found that although the officer did not have any objective evidence of a crime, he asked defendant for consent to search. Defendant agreed, and the search revealed the loaded firearm. Therefore, defendant's consent to search was valid, and the search was lawful. However, the court went on to state that even if defendant had refused the officer's request to search, the officer could have used his senses to detect contraband and observed that the gun was in plain view. Therefore, the search was lawful, and the gun was not obtained in violation of defendant's constitutional rights. Consequently, the court held that the trial court properly denied defendant his motion to exclude the evidence and affirmed defendant's conviction. So what does this mean? It means that the police officers don't even need your consent to search your vehicle. They can simply ask for it, and if you say yes, they will use it to establish probable cause to arrest you for DUI. However, if you say no, they can still use their other senses to establish probable cause. So what should you do? As always, remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. If the police officer asks you for consent to search your vehicle, respectfully tell the officer that you do not consent to a search and that you would like him to leave you alone. Once you've done that, remain silent. Don't answer any more of his questions. If he continues to ask you questions, then you should politely tell the officer that you do not want to answer any more of his questions and that you would like him to let you go. At that point, if he doesn't have anything else to detain you for, he should let you go. But remember, if he asks you for consent to search, respectfully tell him that you do not consent to a search. Of course, this is just a general overview of this topic and not specific legal advice. So if you have any questions about this, please contact an attorney. Also, please remember to subscribe to this channel so that you get notified every time we post a new video. We post several times per week, so you'll definitely want to subscribe so you don't miss out on any helpful information. And if you enjoyed this, please click the like button. That really helps us out. Until next time, I'm your host, Attorney Doug. And remember, we have rights. Let's protect them.